Welcome to Good Morning Transfers. Big news coming out of Everton in the last 15 minutes or so involving Wilfried Zaha. Details on the way. Here's what else is coming up.
Zinedine Zidane is giving nothing away about Gareth Bale's future, but is it looking like he'll stay at Madrid against the manager's wishes? We've got the latest.
The deadline to activate Toby Alderweireld's £25 million release clause has passed. Why didn't a club take that offer? Is this the biggest summer transfer mystery? Let us know.
One Premier League club is miles ahead of the rest on spending and bringing in new faces. But is this a good or bad thing? We'll be discussing all on the show.
Arsenal fans, patience was asked for by Unai Emery for potential incomings, and like that, two in the same day. We break down the Arsenal new boys, Dani Ceballos and William Saliba.
Plus, we'll be discussing Brighton and Bournemouth in your club a little bit later on in the show. Remember, this is your show, so plenty of ways for you to get in touch today. Use the hashtag TransferTalk.
Let's start with those big developments then surrounding Wilfried Zaha, because Everton are in talks to sign him from Crystal Palace. We understand that they will make a bid in the region of £60 million, which includes a player going to Palace from Everton. We don't know who that player is just yet, but we are trying to find out. Zaha is keen to test himself at a higher level, we're told, but his preference is to stay in London, but, crucially, would still consider a move back to the northwest where he was with Manchester United, of course. Now, we said on Wednesday Everton wanted to sign Zaha and would have talks this week. So this is all something that we were expecting, but it has now accelerated. Michael, what do we know about this?
Well, what we know, Tom, is, well, firstly, to talk on the player, we don't know the player from Everton just yet. So we look at the fee around 60 million. We don't know the player, which will have implications on whether it could rise to higher, 70, 80. We don't know as yet. What we do know, in the past month, we were told Wilfried Zaha wanted to join Arsenal, the club he supported as a boy. 40 million was the fee. That was not even considered by Crystal Palace. It went a bit quiet, naturally, because Zaha was playing for the Ivory Coast in the African Cup of Nations. He's come back. He reiterated his desire to leave the club. Everton have come in. Now, people have questioned why Everton. Idrissa Gueye is leaving. That's a big blow to them. But last season, eyebrows were raised when they paid £50 million for Richarlison. And what a signing he's been. So they're not scared to pay big money for a top player. Now, with the greatest respect in the world to Everton, who are a fantastic football club, who are looking at building their new stadium yesterday, they're not in Europe. They're not even in the Europa League. Now, my source at Palace told me something a while ago, and I'm told this has not changed. They value Zaha at around £80 million. And because of their good relationship with him, they'd only consider him going to a club who are playing in the Champions League. The question is, when he returns next week, does that change? When he has talks with the manager, Dougie Freeman and Steve Parish. They've lost Aaron Wan-Bissaka to Manchester United as well. They don't want to lose both. And he's had a really good start to pre-season at Man United. And can I tell you, that hurts Palace fans, seeing how good he has been so far. So, I said a few weeks ago this could go to the wire, and I see no reason why that won't.
Let's pick up on that point that you said, Michael, because ever since the start of this show at the start of July, we've been talking about Wilfried Zaha, and through his brother or agent, they both said that Wilfried Zaha wanted to go to a team in Europe, and we were discussing how we crucially said Europe rather than Champions League or Europa League. And let's pick up on what Michael said, JD. We can't get away from the fact that Everton aren't in Europe.
I still feel like that's not really a deciding factor. I think Wilfried Zaha probably wants to just go to a team that's going to probably win a lot more Premier League games. If he's part of a project where their target is now Europe, I think whether they're in Europe this year or their future targets are to be in Europe, as long as they have a club that's showing that ambition. So if you're talking about whether or not Zaha would move to Everton, Everton is still an attractive prospect. I know they haven't got the European football they can throw to him straight away, but at the same time, as a club that's moving in the right direction. And you spoke about their transfer policy with Richarlison. That's one of the biggest moves we've seen over the last 2 years. So it is a club that wants and target in Europe, European football in the future.
We need to bring Arsenal into this, don't we, Anton? Because Arsenal have already had a bid rejected for him, and we're told that they're going to come in with another bid. So where does this leave them?
Well, it means they've got to raise another £20 million from their previous bid, which was £40 million. And like Michael said, Palace want 80. So it puts Arsenal in a difficult position because basically it sets the low point for re-entering the race at least £60 million. And we previously reported that, OK, they've got a budget of 45, but they can increase it for the right player. Wilfried Zaha clearly is that player, but it puts them under financial pressure if they really want to get this move done. I think responding to JD's point, I think JD's exactly right. You know, Everton is an attractive prospect at the moment. You see the moves they're making this week. Idrissa Gueye is going to leave in the next week by the look of it to Paris Saint-Germain. Ademola Lookman yesterday went for up to £22 million. Nikola Vlasic has gone for an 8-figure fee as well. So they're bringing in around £60 million. Now, they spent 22 on Gomez and a little bit on Delph as well, about 30 million, but they've still got money to spend. They've just shown off this sparkling, wonderful-looking new stadium. Are you telling me that's not going to attract someone like Wilfried Zaha? Because basically what you're saying is this club's gearing up for Europe. If you trust in us, we can get you to where you want to go. Whereas at the moment at Palace, you look at the transfer activity, they haven't been as productive as they like. Roy Hodgson's admitted he's been a bit frustrated. For me, it's all moving towards, the market's changed for Wilfried Zaha, and he's just clearly reacting to that market by saying, do you know what, I need to keep my options open.
And that Arsenal angle as well. Imagine losing one of your targets to a team that's not above you in the league, but below you in the league. What does that say about the way that you're financially constrained at the moment? What does that say about your ambition within the club? I mean, as we've turned around and pointed out, they were closer to Wolves than they were to Manchester City. So if you're looking at going back into Europe's elite competition, targets like Wilfried Zaha, you cannot afford to lose the teams that can't even offer European football whatsoever.
And Mark, let's just bring you into this, because another bit which I found interesting as well, we're told that Zaha's preference would be to stay in London, but would consider a move back to the northwest. And again, it goes back to what Anton was saying there. It does seem that it's just keeping options open.
Yeah. I'm happy to go to the northwest. I'm happy to stay in London. I'm happy to go abroad. It feels like there's a move there for him. He feels it's the right time to move on from Crystal Palace. This is definitely going to be one to monitor.
It does look like, Michael, when you've said all along it will go down to the final day. If they're stepping up, if Everton are stepping up this now, it could well take that long.
Look, 13 days to go. Crystal Palace need to bring quite a few players in, regardless of Zaha's future. Yesterday, they signed Jordan Ayew. That had no bearing on the future of Wilfried Zaha. He was in that squad last season on loan. They need bodies, and as I said, and I don't mind saying it again, they didn't want to lose Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Wilfried Zaha. They've mid-table, record points under Roy Hodgson. It will hurt the fans. Now, I see it from Zaha's point of view. It could have gone either way at Manchester United, and he was unlucky. It might have came a year too early. Situations with the managerial changes there. I totally understand that. And the last couple of years, I've seen Wilf carry Palace in some matches, and they won't mind me saying that. He's so good. But it will concern them, because with 13 days to go, they're looking to replace Wan-Bissaka, and I know they're doing their best. They're looking at top right-backs in France, but then replacing Zaha is going to be tough.
Right, Everton fans, Crystal Palace fans, Arsenal fans, hashtag transfer talk. Let us know what you think about this potential deal. But now let's go to Dave Reed for State of Play.
We are going to get the latest on Gareth Bale and Harry Maguire in just a moment, but let's bring you up to date with what else is happening today. Sky in Italy are telling us that Inter Milan have not given up on signing Romelu Lukaku. The club's chief executive, Beppe Marotta, has held talks with Antonio Conte, which have been described as positive. Inter are still struggling to meet Manchester United's valuation of the striker. Napoli are in talks with Lille over the side of Nicolas Pepe. The player's agents arrived in Naples yesterday to discuss the transfer. Carlo Ancelotti also wants to sign James Rodriguez. Former Roma captain Daniele De Rossi has joined Boca Juniors on a one-year deal. The former Italy international attracted interest from various Serie A clubs, including Fiorentina, AC Milan and Sampdoria, but opted to join Boca. Wolves are chasing 3 new signings, and we understand a deal is close with Real Madrid for the signing of Jesus Vallejo on loan. The 22-year-old centre-back is struggling for a first-team place following the arrival of Eder Militao. Marvellous Nakamba looks like being Aston Villa's 11th signing of the summer. That's after they agreed a deal worth £11 million with Club Bruges. West Brom have agreed a fee with Brentford to sign Romain Sawyers. We understand it's in the region of £3 million. The midfielder will have a medical later today. And Sunderland have signed Walsall midfielder George Dobson for an undisclosed fee. The 21-year-old who started his career at Arsenal will join them on a 3-year deal.
Marvellous Dave Reed there. Right, let's get to Manchester United now. We expected this to be the top story till that Zaha story broke just before we came on air. We understand that manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has made it clear to the club's executive vice chairman, that's Ed Woodward, that he wants to sign Harry Maguire, crucially, as soon as possible. That's according to Sky sources. Now, Leicester will not let Maguire leave for less than £80 million. That's £10 million more than Manchester United have currently offered. Anton, this news broke yesterday, didn't it, that Solskjaer, it sounds like he's really stepping up his efforts now.
He is, and it's no coincidence timing-wise, because Eric Bailly was stretchered off during yesterday's friendly against Tottenham with a knee problem, and obviously it focuses back on that centre-backs. And you look at the centre-backs they have, they've got Smalling, Lindelof, Jones and Tuanzebe, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's looked at that and clearly gone, I don't think that's enough, especially if Eric Bailly isn't there. So he's putting the pressure now back on the board. Woodward is in London. He hasn't gone to the Far East with Manchester United. He hasn't gone on tour with them because he's supposed to be concentrating on transfers. And if I was a Manchester United fan, I think I'd be quite satisfied to hear the manager talking about this, because he's basically venting the same frustrations that the fans are, and they're tweeting us in with the same thing, which is why we're not getting our business done. It's interesting because now I actually think if they do want to go back in for Harry Maguire, and he is their top centre-back choice regardless of what's being said, look, this gives them much more of a position of strength, because now they know you really want him. You really want our guy. You've got a problem at centre-back. You're one body down. You want our guy. Come on, step up. Pay actually what we want. Man United could have done that 10 days ago. We could have had this done. Eric Bailly goes off, Harry Maguire's in the squad. The fact of the matter is, United haven't, because they've been trying to play a game, trying to protract that in the negotiations, and this could, end up costing them just what they were being quoted a couple of weeks ago.
The cloud of Manchester City hanging over it as well, because exactly. We understand that he's keen as well. Just something else to add to this, though, JD. Manchester United, they've signed Dan James. We've talked about Aaron Wan-Bissaka as well, and Solskjaer did actually say yesterday that, publicly he would be happy to start the season with no more new signings. But it does look like this Maguire situation, it seems to be his absolute #1 target that he wants. Is that the situation that you're getting?
It's coming to an end. The saga is coming to an end. I know we said it would rumble on for the majority of the window, but I feel like you can probably see that this saga is going to find a conclusion. Because if you're going to bid £70 million for a player and you're going to make him your top priority, you would bid £80 million for a player and make him your top priority. I understand how negotiations work, but if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been very vocal about Toman and saying that he wants to add Maguire to his squad, if you couple that with Harry Maguire's representatives coming out and talking about the nostalgia of those Manchester United legends like Vidic and Ferdinand, it seems like both of the parties are in agreement they want the deal. So now the only thing to do now is to find the valuation. Leicester have been very vocal and been very honest about how they value their defender. So now, if you've bid 70, you have to go in and bid 80.
Well, in that case, Mark, let's talk about the Leicester side of this as well, because they appear from the outside to be very relaxed about what happens here.
Yeah, it goes back to what Brendan Rodgers was saying after the pre-season game on Tuesday, and I'll quote him. He said, "I'm quite relaxed. It's all what if at this moment in time. There's nothing there that's not going to tempt anyone at the club at all. The club don't need to sell, and we don't want to sell." And interestingly, just on the flip side as well, he talks about Harry Maguire, and I think this is really interesting. It all seems and it all points towards a departure of Harry Maguire, but the manager still speaks incredibly highly of him. This is what Brendan Rodgers said again after the game. He's a player that is training and working. Well, I would like to say he's been the ultimate professional. He's actually been a joy to work with, because I've seen this situation a number of times before with various players. But his concentration is fully on Leicester. You see by his performances and in training every day, he's been absolutely first class. And I think that gives you an insight into the potential player that he is on and off the field, and why Manchester City and Manchester United, not just two of the biggest clubs in the Premier League, but in world football, are desperate to sign this guy. And I'll just reiterate there what JD said. As far as Leicester are concerned, they will not sell Harry Maguire for less than £80 million. Yeah. That's the valuation. They will not take a penny less, and that's what they want. And I think if they can find that fee, he'll be on his way.